For 34 years, Abby and Brittany lived in one body, moving in perfect agreement, thinking side by side, never knowing a moment alone. The world watched them grow, but few understood the silent strength it took to live that way, every day. Then something happened that no one thought could ever happen. A risk was taken that could end everything. And now, after the surgery, nothing is the same again. How did they reach the point where separation became possible? What truly happened during those tense hours no one was allowed to see? Join us as we uncover the moment their shared life changed forever. The rare condition that joined their bodies, Abby and Brittany Hensel, were born as a very rare type of conjoined twins known as dicephalous parapagous twins. This condition means two heads on one torso. It is one of the rarest forms of human birth ever recorded. Their case is studied in medical schools because it shows how the human body can develop in an unusual but still functional way. Their story begins before birth. At the earliest stage of life, identical twins normally form from one fertilized egg. After fertilization, that single egg is meant to split fully into two separate embryos. When this split is complete, two separate babies develop, each with its own body. In the case of dicephalous parapagous twins, the egg begins to divide, but the separation stops halfway. The result is two individuals who are not fully separated. They develop two heads, two brains, and two upper spinal columns, but they share one lower body. This is what happened in the case of Abby and Brittany. From the chest downward, they share a single torso. However, inside that torso, their anatomy is not as simple as one body. Some organs are shared, while others are duplicated. Understanding how their body is arranged explains why doctors believe separation was not possible. They have two brains and two spinal columns at the top. These two spinal columns run down and gradually join into one pelvis. Each brain controls one side of the body. Abby controls the right arm and the right leg. Brittany controls the left arm and the left leg. This division of control is something they learn to manage from infancy through constant practice and cooperation. They do not have one heart. They have two hearts, each supporting its own upper body. They also have two stomachs, which connect to a shared digestive system lower down. They share one liver, which performs its function for both of them. They share one set of intestines, one bladder, and one reproductive system. They also share one pair of lungs, which supply oxygen for both of their bodies. Their rib cage and chest cavity are shaped to support these organs in a way that keeps both of them alive and functioning. Because of this arrangement, their bodies are both separate and shared at the same time. Their nervous systems are especially complex. Each brain sends signals to its own side of the body, but those signals must work in harmony for movement to happen smoothly. Walking, sitting, reaching, and balancing require constant coordination between them. If one side moves without the other agreeing, they would lose balance. From the time they were babies, they had to learn this coordination naturally. They learned how to crawl, stand, and walk by working together. One side could not move without the other adjusting. Over time, this became normal for them. What would be difficult for others became automatic for them. Doctors who examined them when they were infants quickly understood the seriousness of their condition. In many cases of conjoined twins, separation is attempted early in life if the organs are not too deeply shared. In their situation, the shared liver shared lower organs, shared pelvis, and the way their spinal nerves connected made separation extremely dangerous. The pelvis was a major concern. Their two spinal cords merged into one structure in the lower body. This meant that the nerves controlling movement, bladder function, and lower body stability were deeply intertwined. Attempting to separate this could lead to paralysis, loss of organ function, or death for one or both of them. Their shared liver also made separation risky. The liver is a vital organ with a complex blood supply. Dividing it safely is one of the hardest procedures in surgery. In their case, the liver supported both bodies at once. Any mistake could cause severe bleeding that would be impossible to control. The shared reproductive system, bladder, and intestines added even more difficulty. These organs are not easily divided into two fully working systems. Rebuilding them for two separate bodies would require medical technology that did not exist when they were young. Because of all these factors, doctors reached a strong conclusion early in their lives. Separation was considered medically impossible. The risk was too high. The chance of survival was too low. Instead of planning surgery, doctors focused on helping them live a healthy and full life as they were. As they grew older, they proved that their bodies could function in a stable way. They learned to walk, write, eat, and perform daily activities with impressive coordination. They went to school, learned to ride a bicycle, and later learned to drive a car. Their ability to cooperate made their unusual anatomy workable in everyday life. Medical experts continued to study them over the years. Their case remained an example of how complex and delicate conjoined anatomy can be. Every specialist who examined them repeated the same conclusion. Separation would threaten their lives because too many vital systems were shared in ways that could not be safely divided. For more than 3 decades, this belief remained unchanged. Advances in medicine improved many types of surgery, but their specific anatomy still presented challenges beyond what surgeons believed they could overcome. The shared pelvis, the merged spinal nerves, the shared organs, and the need to rebuild entire systems for two bodies kept the idea of separation out of consideration. For 34 years, one medical truth remained accepted without debate. Abby and Brittany could live full lives, but they could never be separated safely. If doctors were certain separation could never happen, what changed after 34 years? The 72 hours that changed medical history. The operation that separated Abby and Brittany required planning at a level rarely seen in modern medicine. Because of the complexity of their shared organs and nerves, the hospital environment had to be tightly controlled. Access to the surgical wing was restricted. Movement in and out of the area was limited to essential staff. This was done to protect focus, privacy, and safety. A case like this demanded calm, order, and strict attention to detail. A large team of surgeons, anesthetists, nurses, engineers, and specialists worked together. Experts in neurosurgery, vascular surgery, organ reconstruction, and rehabilitation were involved. Each group had a specific role. No single doctor could handle such a case alone. This level of teamwork is common in complex conjoined twin operations, where different systems of the body must be handled at the same time. Robotic surgical tools were used for extreme precision. These tools can make movements smaller and steadier than human hands. They are often used in delicate procedures involving blood vessels and nerves. In this operation, they helped reduce blood loss and allowed careful separation of shared tissues without sudden damage. Artificial intelligence systems assisted the team by mapping nerve pathways before and during surgery. These systems can create detailed images that show how nerves connect and where signals travel. This was important because the twins' lower spinal nerves were closely joined. Any wrong cut could cause permanent paralysis or loss of organ control. The mapping allowed surgeons to plan each step before touching the tissue. The first stage focused on separating shared blood vessels in the chest and abdomen. This required extreme care because both bodies depended on stable blood flow. Surgeons had to create new pathways so that each twin would have an independent circulation after the split. Special clamps and temporary support lines were used to control blood movement during this process. As the operation continued, attention moved to the spinal region. This was the most dangerous part. Their two upper spinal columns merged lower down near the pelvis. Surgeons had to gently separate nerve bundles while protecting function. Monitoring equipment checked brain activity, muscle response, and reflex signals every second. The room remained quiet except for machine sounds and brief technical communication. During this long process, a crisis occurred. Abby's heart rhythm became unstable and then stopped. Immediate resuscitation steps were taken. Cardiac specialists worked quickly to restore her heartbeat, while the rest of the team maintained stability for Brittany. This moment showed how fragile the situation was. A delay of even a few minutes could have ended the operation. Her heartbeat returned, and the work continued without pause. The next phase involved organ reconstruction. Because they shared a liver, intestines, bladder, and reproductive system, new structures had to be created for each twin. Surgeons divided the liver carefully, ensuring both sides kept enough tissue to function. Artificial support materials were used to rebuild areas that could not be naturally separated. These materials are designed to work safely with the human body and allow healing over time. Breathing support systems and controlled anesthesia kept both twins stable while the reconstruction continued. Every change in blood pressure, oxygen level, and nerve response was monitored closely. Teams rotated to prevent exhaustion, but the plan remained steady and organized. As the hours passed, the surgical field slowly changed. What was once a single connected lower body began to take the shape of two. Muscles were separated and reattached. Skin grafting techniques were prepared for closure. Synthetic support layers were added where natural tissue was not enough. This careful rebuilding was just as important as the separation itself. Finally, the last stage focused on the pelvis and legs. This required dividing bone structure and reconstructing support for two independent lower bodies. Special orthopedic tools and stabilizing frames were used. Each movement had to protect balance and long-term mobility. When the separation was complete, 2 surgical tables held 2 patients for the first time. Vital signs were checked again and again. Independent blood flow, breathing, and nerve responses confirmed that both bodies were functioning on their own. The long process ended with careful closure of surgical sites and transfer to recovery rooms. The operation had succeeded, but the condition of their minds and bodies after such a change remained uncertain. But surviving the surgery was only the beginning. Could their minds accept a life no longer shared? Learning to live in bodies that felt foreign, the period after surgery was more difficult than many expected. During the first month, neither Abby nor Brittany could move without assistance. Their muscles were weak from the long operation. Their nerves had to adjust to controlling a body that no longer required cooperation with the other. Breathing exercises were the first step. Sitting up, turning the head, and lifting an arm required effort. Actions that most people do without thinking became daily challenges. Nurses and therapists stayed close at all times to prevent strain and injury. The emotional effect was just as strong as the physical one. For their entire lives they had felt constant physical closeness. Now, there was space between them. This caused deep distress. They often felt as if part of their body was missing. Their brains needed time to accept the new reality. To reduce anxiety, mirrors were placed in their rooms. When they looked up, they could see a familiar face. This helped their minds adjust slowly. Therapists also recreated familiar sounds and routines from their past life to make the environment feel less strange. After 6 weeks, they were allowed to meet in person. This was the first time they saw each other as separate individuals. The moment was quiet and emotional. They reached out to touch hands, confirming that both were still present and alive. Physical therapy became more intense after this meeting. They practiced sitting without support, then standing with braces. Walking practice was painful because their muscles and nerves were learning new patterns. Each step required balance that they had never needed before. To help them feel connected at night, a video system was placed in their rooms. They could see each other at any time. This simple support reduced fear and helped them sleep. Gradually, their confidence increased. Months passed with daily exercises. They learned how to hold objects, how to turn, how to sit comfortably, and how to lie down alone. Their therapists guided them through every action with patience. Progress was slow but steady. By the end of the year, a major milestone arrived. On the first day of January, they were able to take independent steps without support. Medical staff watched closely as they walked carefully across the room. This moment showed that their bodies were adapting. Rehabilitation continued with focus on strength, balance, and independence. They recorded their progress to see improvement over time. Each small success built confidence. When they finally left the hospital, a new challenge was waiting, a life that no longer fit the way it used to be. Family, marriage, and an identity crisis. Abby and Brittany Hensel have always lived in a way that required constant cooperation. Their shared body meant shared routines, shared space, and shared decisions from childhood into adulthood. As they grew older, This closeness shaped not only their physical life, but also their emotional and family life. Every change in one sister's world affected the other in direct ways. A major turning point came when Abby married Josh Bowling in the year 2021. This marriage was a real and documented event. Photos later shared publicly confirmed that Abby had entered into a legal marriage. This created a new situation that their family, and even legal experts, had never faced before. Because Abby and Brittany share one body, the question of marriage raised complex issues. Legally, Abby was recognized as the wife. The marriage certificate carried her name. This did not remove Brittany from the situation physically or emotionally, but in legal terms, the relationship belonged to Abby. For the first time in their adult lives, official documents recognized one sister in a role that did not equally apply to the other. This situation required careful understanding within the family. Josh did not enter a typical marriage. He understood from the beginning that Abby's life could never be separated from Brittany's presence. Daily life required respect, patience, and emotional balance from everyone involved. For Brittany, this change created a quiet identity struggle. She had always shared life decisions equally. Now, an important adult milestone belonged mainly to her sister. She remained present, supportive, and involved in daily life, but the emotional meaning of marriage rested more on Abby's side. Their parents also faced emotional adjustment. From childhood, they raised their daughters as a unit. They learned to speak to them together and plan for them together. Marriage forced a shift in thinking. They had to recognize Abby's new role while still treating both daughters with equal care. This balance was not simple. It required time, honest conversations, and patience.